least want to play. I mean, the team I would be most concerned about them playing right now is the Cowboys.
Yeah, I'm with you, Damo.
Because there goes my respect.
Mad guys, John McMullen here with you on Birds 365. We are joined by an esteemed colleague. You know him from years with the Inquirer, doing it these days for 3013.com and Philly Mag as well. Paul Domowitch, good enough to hop aboard for us, looking up and at him early. We appreciate that, Damo. I need to start here because my partner, my colleague, and I'm doing this with tongue firmly implanted in cheek, is suggesting that the Philadelphia Eagles are gaming the system when it comes to COVID testing with the fact that they had 12, count them, 12 players show up positive yesterday, that the Eagles are saying, go ahead, get the test, get it over and done with. 90 days thereafter, you don't have to test again if you come back. Would the Eagles risk the health of these rather young, finely conditioned athletes who don't seem to be all that adversely affected by the Omicron virus? Would they do that to their players, Damo?
One more reason to consider Nick Sirianni for Coach of the Year. Yes, they would.
John gave credit to Howie Roseman. You're giving credit to Nick Sirianni.
I think it's an ingenious idea, and these guys can't be tested going forward. Yeah. So, they don't have to worry about Fletcher Cox not playing in any of the, depending on how long they last in the playoffs, guys like that. So, yeah, I mean, there's something going on here. I don't think it's, they're working within the rules, but the rules are very loose right now with regard to the COVID testing and the COVID list. So they're not doing anything illegal. They're just taking advantage of what's there.
Yeah, they might have done it a little bit early, Damo, because this league and people are going to do the same thing. Now, there's only 1 week, but everybody's going to test everybody on Monday next week. And if guys pop positive, and they will, then they're going to be able to be eligible for the playoff game that weekend. So that's my only criticism. Yeah. I mean, I don't want to laugh because it's a serious virus, but that's the rules, as you pointed out, that the NFL and the NFLPA have agreed to. They changed them recently. And I don't believe in coincidence, Tom. I mean, the Eagles made a big deal behind the scenes when they pushed the game back to Tuesday against Washington, the first game. And they said, we've been doing all the right things, and we get, punished for it, essentially. And look, the league was just negotiating with the union at the time, trying to push through the first part of they've since changed it again and loosened it again. But I thought there was a little hubris there from the Eagles, thinking that they could protect themselves and they were doing all the right things and they weren't going to be hit by this virus like at the time, Washington, New Orleans. You've seen it all over the league. But it really affected Washington's playoff chances, really affected New Orleans' playoff chances, teams like that. I thought there was a little bit of hubris, but I got to give him credit. This is and I called him on Twitter, and I got in a lot of trouble for this because people don't like Howie. This is one of the smartest and savviest organizations in the league. Few people have been around him longer than you. Would you agree with that sentiment?
Well, I mean, he's, I've been critical of him at times because he's made some high-profile mistakes draft-wise. I mean, we can start with Justin Jefferson, most notably. But, hey, I mean, this is the guy that put together the 2017 Super Bowl champions, which included some incredible signings that nobody even noticed at the time. People like Patrick Robinson when they brought him in, and he ends up being an invaluable nickel corner for them on their Super Bowl run. He's learned a lot from Joe Banner as far as how to play the salary cap game. He kind of has gone overboard at times with restructuring. but he survived that because the cap has keep going up and is going to just soar now that they've got gambling revenue on the on the horizon. So, yeah, I mean, you're right. I mean, see, Howie's got the same problem Joe does. Didn't play the game, and people are always going to hold that against him. He's always going to be, he's always going to be the lawyer. Nobody's going to ever say he's the football guy. And he's also got a personality that rubs people the wrong way, including quite often us, because he just, he's very condescending. I used, at one time early on in his GM tenure, he had a great relationship with the media. He was very accessible. He was honest. And I'm assuming somebody burned him or he felt he was burned. And since then, it's been a different Howie Roseman as far as his dealings with us. But yeah, I mean, I'll give him credit. You're right. I mean, he's very savvy, knows the rules, knows how to skirt them occasionally, has made his share of high profile mistakes. But, you're right.
Damo, Dr. McMullen also conjectured with me last segment that all 12 of the guys could potentially be cleared and would be cleared if they really needed the ball in time for the game on Saturday. Some, they'll say, nah, stay in protocols because you're not going to play anyway. So you might as well stay on the list and we can bring somebody up from the practice squad, take a roster spot to replace you. The Eagles seem to be, and this is all conjecture on our part, to not be worried about the outcome of this game. That if they need to sit guys, they're going to sit guys. They're going to do what's best for protecting guys for the more important game a week later, which is the playoffs. But the Cowboys are on record, and I got to tell you, I'm surprised by this. Actually, I shouldn't have been. Shame on me. Jerry Jones came out and said, no, we got to win the game. I'm saying we got to win the game. We're going to play playoff football now. And he did so immediately after the game. So everyone fell in line behind him. The quarterback said, I'm playing. So the coach got up and said, yeah, we're going to win this game. We got to try and win this game. And they all take their clue from the guy who signs the checks. Are the Cowboys making a mistake here? Or does it really matter that much whether you're second or third or fourth overall in the conference? Do you really gain that much by playing one good game? Haven't we established what the Cowboys are or aren't? And it's not going to be changed by the 17th game of the season?
Well, I mean, there's more of a benefit to winning for them than the Eagles. I still don't think we're going to see a whole lot of Dak Prescott or people that are, Zeke Elliott, even though they're going to try to win a little bit more than the Eagles. The other part of the Eagles situation here is, and John mentioned, probably none of these guys or very few of them are going to be taken off the list, which prevents a Joe Judge situation here. I mean, the Eagles can say, well, they couldn't play. They're on COVID. I mean, they can't be blamed for tanking this game to rest their guys. I mean, because most
so you think the Rams or the Cardinals or Tampa Bay is going to be questioning the Eagles for going in to tank the final game of the season for the second consecutive year?
Well, I think even the Cowboys might be angry if they just didn't put a reasonable team out there. So I don't think that's their primary objective here for putting these guys on COVID, but it's a kind of a side plus for them. I don't think we're not. Tampa Bay and the Rams aren't going to have looked that far ahead to be offended by anything the Eagles have done, especially when you consider Tampa Bay's beaten them and feels that they're probably licking their chops right now, the way Tampa Bay's playing, I don't think they're licking their chops about anybody.
Yeah, that's true. Tampa Bay's had a lot of injuries, obviously, and we know the situation with Antonio Brown. I did, one thing was brought up to me by some Cowboys people. Nobody knows Green Bay better than Mike McCarthy. I mean, look, it's going to be cold when you have to go there. And if the Cowboys, it's going to be pretty cold on Saturday nights, at least the early weather forecast here, Damo. They want to get ready to play the Green Bay Packers if they have to play the Green Bay Packers. Is there something to trying to get your players used to that kind of environment?
Well, I don't think there's any way to get used to it, John, unless live in it. I mean, if you know, I mean, Mike McCarthy may be used to it. None of those guys are. Uh, you know, it's just you just hope for a warm spell and get your. I would keep my team out of it until the you know it would as little as possible. I mean, I don't think there's I know there's history has shown coaches that practice go outside and practice in the worst weather they can possibly find to get ready for a game like playing in Green Bay. I don't.
Well, I was with Bud Grant for all those years, so I mean, I think it worked with Bud. I mean, they used to not wear sleeves, and he would.
I mean, they were. That's where. I mean, they were. That was their environment. I mean, so they were used to it. I mean, what I'm talking about is a team that's like Dallas. Going there, and I just don't think there's any way they can get used to it. I think they just have to, just bite hard and hope they don't get frostbite for 3 hours.
Yeah, you hope for that 30-degree, the 130-degree day pops on actual game day. It is really difficult. Green Bay's got the inside straight. They got to be the heavy favorite here. Is that do you see anybody on the NFC side of the bracket now that the Bucs are so banged up and so many issues? They were able to pull it off last year. I don't think anybody can beat Green Bay and Green Bay right now.
No, I agree. I mean, they're as close to unbeatable right now at home as there is. I mean, Aaron Rodgers is just playing out of his mind. They've got a running game. They would have the weather on their side. It just I don't know what the formula would be for beating them there.
They are the favorite, and they will stay that way through the playoffs. All right, Domo, I got to get you on the record about this. And I just found this by happenstance today as I was looking stuff up. The Eagles' number 2 wide receiver, Jalen Reagor. Last year.
he's number 3, but go ahead. Quez is
he
number
2? 3?
Quez is
sure he's number 3?
Yes.
Okay. All right. How do we determine
Well, that's sad, by the way. That is sad that he is – Quez is number 2, which is bad enough, but Jalen's number 3 now. But I know where you're going. I'm sorry. I shouldn't.
All right, that's okay. Last year, his season last year, had some injury issues. He played in 11 of the 16 games. He had exactly 31 receptions last season for 396 yards, 31 receptions on 54 targets. This year, he's played 16 games. He's got 31 receptions on 54 targets. To this point, he's got the exact same number of catches and the exact same number of targets, but he's only got 280 yards receiving as compared to 396 last year. So he's down 116 yards in the same number of catches and same number of targets. This guy's going backwards. Why is he the second or third or fourth or fifth or sixth Eagle wide receiver at this time?
Yeah, I'm not going to defend Jalen. I've been hard on him, but I mean the reason his numbers are down are because most of his, I believe 13 of those 31 catches are screens.
They're all screens,
and very few of them seem to be have worked.
Yeah.
I mean, he's had a couple that have been successful, but there's for the most part, Dallas Goedert's been their only effective screen guy. And Jalen Reagor, whether it's jet screens or bubbles or whatever they run with him, it's typically minus yardage. So that's kind of, and people kid me about this, but Greg Ward should be out there, not Jalen Reagor. I mean, he'd be helping him more. He'd be helping Jalen Hurts more. He'd be helping the whole offense more. But they're not going to do that because Jalen Reagor's a first-round pick, and they're not going to, he's good in space, or he should be, but
he's not even good in space, though, Dama. He's
even
not even good in space. He really isn't.
That catch, that it was a difficult catch the other day. Should have made it. I mean, you can't say. Well, I shouldn't say he should have made it. It's a kind of catch a good receiver can make, and he didn't make it. And there's been too many of those. So yeah, I mean, he's been I love people that tell me every time I mention Justin Jefferson over him, get past it. Well, it's hard to get past it when the guy's got 31 catches for less yards than he did last year. So,
But, you know, Jefferson's interesting because he's a guy I brought up when people were yelling at me, and that's the first name they always bring up. Look, the Eagles made a mistake. There's no doubt about it. They screwed up that particular draft pick monumentally. You know, you have what's turning out to be, it's very early in his career, but, you know, one of the best first 2 years ever for a wide receiver against a guy who is not even producing at all, as Jody mentioned, which is, you know, we can all stipulate to that. And my point is, you know, if you ask the Wilt family to trade Justin Jefferson for the Eagles front office, they would probably do it. So my overriding point is everybody misses on first round picks. You can go to New England. Look, New England is the real gold standard. We all know that. They've missed on plenty of first round picks over the years. It happens. It's not great. Your odds are better to hit in the first round than the 6th round or 7th round. But, you know, you get Jason Kelsey in the 6th round all those years ago. You get Jordan Mailata in the 7th round. That counts too. That counts too. And again, you look at the NFC East, Domo, and that's where I bring up the context. Would you rather have the Dallas front office, the Washington front office, the Giants front office? And you go on and on and on. Nick Sirianni's now a part of that. We got to give him credit. When you started this thing at 2-5 and you saw this team, did you even have an inkling this was a possibility?
Well, I knew they would get better, John, because, I mean, even before they started 2-5, you could look at the schedule and see, okay, you know, they're going to be lucky to be anywhere close to 500 in those first 7 games. You hope they win maybe 3, and then they make hay at the end. I didn't expect the rest of the NFC to be quite as abominable as it's been, except for Dallas. I knew they were going to be playing the Jets and some of these other soft teams. But what shocked me and what's been responsible for this turnaround has been Nick's willingness to just flip the script and go to a 35-40 carry a game running attack. You just don't see coaches that are willing to do that, especially first-year coaches who have spent months like planning how this is going to work. I mean, he just said, hey, this ain't working, and we got to change something. We got to take the pressure off this quarterback who's not ready to have this kind of pressure on him, and it worked. And, you know, it's why he's, you know, I mean, he's not going to get my Coach of the Year award vote, but he's certainly a guy that deserves a lot of credit for what he's done this year with this team.
All right. By the way, in Sunday's game, Quez Watkins, 51 snaps. Jalen Reagor, 51 snaps. So they were co-wide receivers too. I wasn't that far off calling him wide receiver too. That's determined by who's on the field the most, not who produces the most, as I also kind of pointed out. If you go by production, he could be wide receiver 6 with the Eagles this year. But again, I digress. Nick Sirianni get Coach of the Year votes?
No, I don't think so. There's too many. I mean, again, and this is no disparagement of him because he's just done a fantastic job this year after early struggles. And, you know, I just think there's too many other quality candidates that jump out at you, including Bill Belichick.
Like who, Damo?
Belichick, Matt LaFleur. Trying to go down the list here. I mean, even you could make a case for Brandon Staley. There's a few obvious ones I'm missing here.
No way. Sirianni's done a better job. You've been doing this a long time. You know, I've been doing it a long time. Coach of the Year goes to the guy whose team overachieves most in what's projected from the beginning of the season, not actually what's happening on the field. But
yeah, I don't agree with that, by the way. Like Matt LaFleur, I agree with that. I'm voting for Matt LaFleur. I mean, the guy's won 13 games 3 years in a row.
Hold on. That wasn't the question I asked. I didn't ask who you would vote for. I asked, would Nick Sirianni be getting Coach of the Year votes? And in handicapping the way the voting has gone the last 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, who wins? The guy who overachieves and surpasses preseason expectations. It's been that every year for the last 20 years.
I agree, but has anybody overachieved this year more than the Patriots? I mean,
Eagles.
They're still 9-7 right now. Okay, I mean the Patriots.
The Patriots at 10-6.
Yeah,
and the Patriots last year weren't 4-11-1.
I guess there are similarities. A rookie, a young quarterback.
Yeah,
I just Belichick has been overlooked. I mean, I can't remember when he won this last. He seldom wins it because people don't give him credit because he had Brady.
Yeah.
I mean,
I agree.
Every
year, the coach of the year should be Belichick, the MVP should be Rodgers, and the defensive player of the year should be Aaron Donald. But that's boring. So everybody's got to go looking for, the Jonathan Taylors of the world or the Cooper Kupps of the world. No, it's Aaron Rodgers, the MVP. Period. End of sentence. Aaron Donald is by far the best, but nobody wants to. They get bored and they want to go in another direction.
What I like about the AP voting for awards is they have an MVP, but they also have an offensive and a defensive player of the year. I'm asking you guys, who would be your offensive player of the year?
I would go Taylor.
Is the MVP.
I would go Jonathan Taylor, slightly over Cooper Kupp. I would give him a slight advantage. But yeah, I like that as well, Domo. I like the fact that they differentiate because, the MVP is going to be a quarterback. It almost has to be by the way this game is set up. So I would go Jonathan Taylor and then clean sweep of the obvious choices. Rodgers, Donald, Belichick, which is boring, but I believe it.
Donald over, I mean, I'm debating whether Micah Parsons is only the defensive rookie of the year or whether he's the defensive player of the year.
Yeah, I mean, he's been great, but Aaron Donald is so good. I mean, and, I remember talking to Brandon Brooks about, when we were allowed in the locker room, I would ask certain guys when I was voting for the Pro Football Writers All-Pro team, I'd ask the players, who's the best? I'd ask Torrey Smith, who's the best corners and, stuff like that. I asked Brandon, who's the best defensive tackle. And of course I knew he was going to say, I think I even said besides Aaron Donald, because I knew he was going to say Aaron Donald and he wouldn't get off Aaron Donald. He said nobody else is close. Yeah. So, and that's one of the best guards in the league, certainly at the time. God, he's so good. Micah Parsons is great, but that guy is first ballot Hall of Fame, which I got to get to you as the Hall of Fame voter.
Let me just add one here before you ask Tom the question. Yeah, I'm not taking Aaron Donald. I'm not taking Micah Parsons. I'm taking TJ Watt. Just wrecked that game last night for the Steelers. Got a chance to set the all-time sack record with missing games this year next week in Baltimore. Yeah, Donald could get it every year. Parsons has come out of left field to be an actual candidate, not rookie of the year. No, TJ Watt's the defensive player of the year.
Could you throw Diggs into that conversation? The kid from
well, that's one of the reasons the Cowboys guys, I think they're going to split the vote. I think you got Parsons and Trayvon are going to split. I kind of take the best player, so that's why I kind of default to Aaron Donald. But best players, best players better than most in a historic fashion. So I think disappointment for Eagles fans. No Eric Allen making the cut again. What did you think of the cut? I know you believe Eric should be certainly in that list, in that discussion.
Yeah, I was really disappointed. I mean, I've lobbied for him for about, for quite a few years now. And I thought I had made some headway. He made the final 25 last year. We don't know the count, so I don't know how close he came to making the final 15 last year. But I mean, I lobbied again this year, sent every one of the other members, what I thought was compelling reasons why, he should be at least in the room for us to discuss. And what disappointed me even more than the fact that he did not make the final 15 was that Rondé Barber did. Rondé Barber's a terrific player, but in my mind, he's not even the best barber in the house, Hall of Fame wise. I mean, I've voted in the past for Tiki on the final 25. He's never made he's never made the semis, but I mean, he's been on my ballot. Rondé's, I mean, his numbers don't match Eric. I mean, I think Eric's been penalized by the fact that he made it look too easy, which is hard to believe. But one of the problems I've had is there's finding respected coaches to make his case for him because they're dead. Buddy's dead, and before that, Buddy wasn't making much sense, so it was hard to use him as a guy to tell you about why Eric Allen belongs in the Hall of Fame. Bud Carson's passed away. I tried Jeff Fisher, who I thought would be a terrific advocate for him, and he wouldn't get back to me last year, which disappointed me. Maybe we just missed connections. I don't know, but it just doesn't. He wasn't. Part of the problem with the selectors is they go by a lot of them go by two things. One, Super Bowls. Yeah, and the other is all-decade teams. He did not make the all-decade team in the 90s because you had Deion Sanders, Woodson, and then the two second-teamers. Both of those guys were first ballot. The two second-teamers were the Darrell Green and I'm missing somebody else, but all four are in the Hall of Fame. Aeneas Williams was the
Aeneas, yeah.
And Aeneas went in like 5-6 years ago. And at that time, I felt Eric belonged in before Aeneas. But so, I mean, I just don't, there's no reason he shouldn't. I don't know what to do next to get these guys to understand how good Eric was and why he belongs.
Yeah, I'm a little surprised about Rondé as well, Damo, because he was a cover 2 corner and he was a great cover 2 corner. But I thought people would hold that against him because when you think about Hall of Fame corners, you want press coverage guys. You want guys who can, and that's not really Rondé Barber's game. I was a little surprised by that.
Well, it was the same situation with John Lynch. When Brian Dawkins was on the ballot, I made the case. You go into that room, you don't want to badmouth the other guy.
Yeah.
Vote with him because it's going to backfire on you. People are going to hold it against you. So I didn't want to. But I used. I sent them. I talked to coaches and GMs who said, John Lynch was a great player. But he couldn't do what Brian Dawkins did in Jim Johnson's defense. I mean, he wasn't good enough to do that. But he was a cover 2 safety who did what Tony wanted him to do and was capable of doing it and was a great player at it. But they were two different players. I mean, Brian Dawkins changed the ways the safety position was played. John Lynch wasn't capable of doing that. He fit into a system. And you're right. It's the same thing with Rondé over Eric. I just don't quite understand it.
All right, Damo, last question for me. And I don't want to put the pressure on you or anything, but your answer may determine whether I actually have any respect for you as a football writing analyst.
That's assuming you have respect for me now.
I do. Absolutely. As I sit here right now, before you answer this question, you have all the respect in the world from me. Let's see how you do here. All right. The 4 teams that the Eagles can potentially play in the playoffs are the Cardinals, the Rams, the Cowboys, and the Buccaneers. Which team would you have the most fear of playing as of right now? Put the 4 teams in order of preference that you'd like to see the Eagles play, giving the Eagles the best chance to beat them on the road. You know it is because you're going to be a wild card. So factor in whatever you need to for that team's home field advantage if you feel that's an important part of it. Rank the 4 teams' preference that the Eagles should want to playing them in the upcoming first round of the playoffs.
Least want to play. I mean, the team I would be most concerned about them playing right now is the Cowboys.
Yeah, I'm with you, Damo.
Because there goes my respect.
Now you just gained more from me. That's more important.
I mean, I just don't see any way. Well, I mean, they lost Gallup, so that's a plus.
Yeah, that hurts. That hurts.
But I mean, they can't. They couldn't handle the tight end in Schultz in the first game. I just don't. I mean, I think that's a bad matchup for him. I think the Bucks are the best matchup.
That's what I told Jody. Styles make bites, and the Eagles don't match up well with the Dallas Cowboys. We had Chris Franklin on yesterday. He picked the Bucks as well. Not only did he say the Cowboys are the most dangerous, but when you left, Jody, he said, "Give me the Bucks, Paul Domowitch. Give me Tom Brady."
Every ounce of respect I've ever had for you, Domowitch. You, McMullen, Franklin, but just keep disrespecting the GOAT, the greatest player of all time in the history of the National Football. What the fuck else does Tom Brady have to do to impress you and McMullen? Please explain that to me.
Nothing. I mean, you're right. He's the GOAT. I just don't think he's got the weapons that the Cowboys have, that Prescott has. The Eagles.
Where were all those weapons against the Cardinals on Saturday? What the hell happened to all the Cowboy weapons on Saturday?
For starters, the Eagles only lost to them by 6 points when they played them this season. So you got that.
Oh, stop it, please! You watched the game. They kept the ball up. Tom Brady said, "How many minutes do I have to take off the clock to win this game?" Okay, fine, and that's exactly what he did.
I don't want any part of the Cowboys defense against Jalen Hurts and the offense.
Trayvon is gonna beat Jalen Hurts into something, just like he did in Week 1. Yeah. And you're gonna see a big pick six or an interception going the other way. Dom's right, 100%.
They play the Bucks. They can run for 200 yards. They can keep the ball away from Brady.
Well, I don't know about that. It depends if B2B is playing, because that guy, you ain't moving him.
What they need to stop, regardless of who they play, is they got to prevent what happened against the Bucks the first time, what happened against the Chiefs, what even happened against the Jets, where the Jets scored 3 touchdowns on their first 3 possessions. They got to stop with they were doing a pretty good job until last week of preventing scores early on, not letting teams jump out ahead, and then even last week they give up 4 scores it was the first time in this season they've given up 4 scores on their opponent's first 4 possessions. Fortunately, a lot of them were field goals. That's the only thing that saved them.
Damo, before I let you go and before we get you out of here, I'm pushing it, but your By the Numbers feature on Philly Mag, everybody should read that weekly. You brought up excellent points with this defense. Is it a mirage? Is it not? Basically, it's common sense. They've been really bad against good quarterbacks and really good against bad quarterbacks. Right. So what do we believe with this defense? What is there anything you can hang your hat on and say this group is good, or at least better than we thought they were early in the season?
Boy, I mean, they've been more aggressive. I mean, I think Gannon realized he had to be a little bit more aggressive. But you got down to that last possession on Sunday, and he only blitzed once on that near disastrous drive until Rodney McLeod intercepted the pass. I don't know that there's, that's why. I mean, they're going to make the playoffs. I mean, they're in the playoffs. They're going to, and I think there's nothing but positive to that because it's going to give these young kids a taste of what it's like. But there's no Brady. I think is the only. I'm going to make him mad again. He's the only quarterback I think they can beat in the first round.
Yes. Both of you are an embarrassment. You're an embarrassment to your professions. I really have to. Just a quick question. And again, you've only been following the league for how many years? Decades. What is the single most important position in determining an outcome of a football game?
Quarterback.
Who's got the better quarterback, Tampa or Dallas?
Tampa.
Okay. Second most important position in determining on or off the field?
Edge rusher?
I would say head coach. I would say quarterback 1, head coach 2. That's just me. Who's got the better head coach, Tampa or Dallas?
Oh, without a doubt, Tampa. I mean,
Yeah,
it'd be
okay. Thank you.
where-
I rest my case. Thank you very much for coming on the show, Damo. Appreciate it greatly.
Give me any respect, Zach, for-
If I had the ability to strip you of your Hall of Fame vote, despite your impassioned plea for Eric Allen, which I agree 1,000% with, you would be stripped of your vote.
Boy, this man hates the Cowboys, doesn't he?
Yeah, he doesn't like the Cowboys.
I'm just
We're
giving
not
you-
criticizing Tom
I'm
Brady or
giving
Bruce
you
Arians.
my honest evaluation of the Dallas Cowboys and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers going forward.
We're saying Tampa Bay Buccaneers right now. You said Antonio Brown was going to be back, and Chris Godwin didn't have ACL surgery, and Mike Evans was healthy. I'd be with you. I'd say they got no shot against the Bucs. They're banged up, and
we're giving Tom more credit than
Yeah.
even, you know, because he's doing this with a cast that's
and he's gonna do it again this playoffs. Mark
Well,
my words, he's gonna do it again because he always does.
he probably will.
You guys will know Cyril Grayson, a former LSU track star, didn't even play football at LSU, who's now catching touchdown passes for the Bucs. Why? Because they're coming from Tom Brady, who you both have disrespected. And are you not going to vote for Brady when he's eligible for the Hall of Fame?
Yeah,
your fellow voters should go, you know, Damo, you thought the Eagles should play him back in 2021. Why would you make the case for Brady as a Hall of Famer? Unbelievable. Damo, thank you very much. If John insists, we'll have you on again. That's up to him. I'm just along for the ride here. So
it's been fun.
Damo, thanks, buddy. Appreciate
Thanks.
it. That is Paul Domowitch from 33rd Team and Philly Mag here on Birds 365. Just embarrassing.
We went long because of that.
We will shoulder on for the last 57 minutes of today's show. McMullen and McDonald here with you on Birds 365.